Okay, everybody. Well, thank you all for coming. This is Rob Manfredi from BPA North America, and this is part of our ongoing series of A Day in the Life as it relates to our products from the BPA Solution catalog. Today we're going to focus on risk management, which is one of our three flagship products that include CRM, quality management, and risk management. So what we're going to do is we're going to start first talking about risk management and its key concepts. Then we're going to get into a little bit of a history on BPA and our solution, and then we're going to get into a demo. All of this should take about 45 minutes, so sit back, relax. If you have any questions within the GoToMeeting control panel, you can ask questions. We'll try to get to those during the webinar or towards the end. We'll run through a bunch of questions. And if not, I'll reach out afterwards and contact you via email for either a discussion or with those answers. So again, thank you all for coming. It looks like we've got a pretty full house. Must mean risk is a hot topic out there in this world, and what better than a risk management solution that runs on SharePoint. Okay, just want to make sure everybody can hear me, and then we will get started. Okay, there we go. Couldn't make that move. So where can risk be found? It's always a great question to start. But essentially, we all know that risk is everywhere. Risk is ubiquitous in all areas of life, and risk management is something that we all must do, whether we're managing a major organization or just simply crossing the road. The risk is essentially the likelihood of something happening. What if a glass bottle is dropped? Well, there's a risk that someone could be cut. So how do we minimize that risk? Well, we start using what we call suitable control measures. Often the best control measures will start with the words do not, like do not use a glass bottle. Well, and that would eliminate the risk altogether of a glass bottle breaking. However, there are times when do not is not applicable, right? All fieldwork risks can be eliminated by the phrase do not do fieldwork, but that's not very practical in our world. So then what we do is we try to aim to reduce the risk. We ensure the bottle is packed in a box with enough packing material around it to prevent it from breaking. We may wear protective gloves when handling the bottle so that the risk of cutting yourself on the bottle is greatly reduced. So failure to identify and evaluate risks and formulate effective response strategies can have serious negative effects to the health and success of any project. And that could include schedule risks, budget risks, loss of management credibility, or even stakeholder/client satisfaction, all things that go into the thought process of managing the risks within your organization. So what is risk management? Well, risk management is the identification, the assessment, and prioritization of risks followed by a coordinated and economical application of resources to minimize, monitor, and control the probability and impact of those unfortunate events. And that's what we do as risk managers. We're always looking at what could happen and how do we either prevent that from happening, minimize its impact from happening, and then monitor the controls and actions that we put in place to make sure we manage those risks. So when we talk about managing risks, there's two primary means of managing risks. There's risk mitigation, which is minimizing the risks once it arises, or you need a plan B, a contingency plan. So PMI has got some really good insights into risk management, and they recognize 4 types of mitigation strategies for managing risk, and these strategies serve as a guide for responses to risk and a mitigation plan. So there's a graph over here that sort of shows in terms of the probability of something happening and its impact, you may apply different strategies to that risk. And the first is avoidance, which is really ignoring a task to eliminate the conditions of the risk, like don't use glass bottles, right? So that may be a strategy you apply for things that have a high probability of happening with a high impact, right? The second is acceptance, that we acknowledge that a risk exists, but we refrain from taking action to resolve the risk, right? So the acceptance may be something that's low probability and low impact, so if it happens, it's not that big of a deal, so we accept it. The third is mitigation, right? We've got a high probability, low impact, so we want to mitigate its impact on things that are running within our organization. So minimizing the probability of a risk occurring and also reducing the impact of the risk should it occur. And the last is transfer. And that's moving the risk to another person or organization, one who is more capable of handling that risk. So when we get into, now we know what risks are and strategies around managing it, what is risk management? So really it's the monitoring and assessment of risks and its cost exposure to an organization. It's setting mitigation and contingency plans. It's tracking those risks and their associated tasks. It's identifying and managing your resources around those risks. And most importantly, it's communication, communication, communication. And this really gets into the system aspect of why you need something in place to help organize all of these activities around your risks. And from a collaborative platform, there is no better one than SharePoint to keep that communication going within your organization. So when we start looking at the risk management solution from BPA, we really follow an identify, a control, and manage guideline. On the identification side, we're going to look at identifying various risks, understanding what risk sources are associated with those risks, but then also realizing that work units may have the same risks, but they could be managed differently. So for example, the risks of a slip and fall in your manufacturing division where a lot of activity is happening is much higher than the same risk of a slip and fall happening, let's say, in your front office where people are in cubes in a more controlled environment. The same type of risk, but then the qualification of it being within a work unit needs to be taken into account. Then we look at the different controls, and we've got both physical assets in terms of controls such as sprinkler systems, eye washing stations, gloves, or procedures or things like that, or actions, right, which are corrective and preventative actions that may be in place that also help control the risk from happening. And then from a manage and monitoring standpoint, we take those risks and we look at the tasks and controls and actions that are related to them, and we apply them to a risk matrix, right? And that risk matrix can be of various combinations, 3x3, 3x4, or others, and you begin to calculate a probability of it happening against its impact to come up with a numerical value for managing whether that risk is increasing, decreasing, or is under control. Now, what you see here is really the full life cycle of a risk management solution. And with BPA, what we've done is allow you to create these relationships so that if you're looking at the risk management piece, you can then cull together all of your controls, actions, activities, meetings, procedures, documents, so that this information can be properly monitored throughout your organization. We're going to see that in action during the demo. Okay, so a little bit about BPA. So BPA is becoming the emerging standard for SharePoint-based solutions. And this standard really represents solutions that serve the needs of people that every day make your business run. A standard that delivers technology that works the way they work and empowers your most important assets with the information they need when they need it. As a worldwide market leader for SharePoint business solutions with over 800 customers in 12 different languages with over 50 partners implementing these solutions, the solutions implemented from BPA are a safe, secure, reliable, and scalable investment. With BPA, you have a trusted vendor with a single enterprise platform that delivers lots of solutions, right? Our platform, called XRM, includes 30-plus enterprise quality components, making it the most powerful SharePoint solution in the marketplace. So you can automate your frontline business-critical processes with solutions such as CRM, quality, risk management, and others. Our solutions are designed to keep you in control through standard SharePoint configuration and be fully extensible through complete integration with powerful SharePoint-based services. So by removing the need for development, you minimize your costs, risks, and time to deploy, and can now deliver a system that fits your business processes. So BPA Solutions simply work better because they run on SharePoint. The BPA Extended Relationship Management Platform complements the robust SharePoint framework with powerful features driving business efficiency and improving the user experience. With the BPA XRM platform, companies can better serve the business needs for solutions and IT's needs for control. So we all know SharePoint is a very powerful collaborative platform in the market and provides native integration with lots of tools such as Outlook, workflows, and the like. So things like business automation, automatic reminders, document management, BI, reporting, and other things which make SharePoint the most robust, scalable, and feature-rich platform in the market adds to the value of what BPA brings with its solutions. So we get to really ride on top of that. We've also recently launched some enhanced mobile add-ons to our solution. So you can never be without information you need when you need it. You can update your tasks, your actions, your risks, and be reminded to update things that you're tasked to do. So with a quick and intuitive interface, our mobile solutions enable you to find the information you need when you need it, even when you're offline. Our mobile solutions are compatible with both the iPhone and iPad, and soon with Android and the Windows mobile devices. Okay, that's enough talking about BPA and risk management. Let's take a look at what the solution looks like. Okay, we'll wait for that to refresh for you all. And what we're seeing here is a SharePoint 2013 site, either Foundation or Enterprise. We have installed the BPA solution straight through Central Admin. It's created all of the templates, the lists, and the other things that are needed to make this solution run. What you're seeing is pretty much out-of-the-box configuration with some additional configuration for this demo. And on this page, we've activated the solution on a site collection for this organization. What you'll notice is that it does look like SharePoint, but the UI allows you to easily move through lots of data very quickly. We're currently on the home page. On the left here is the BPA navigation web part. This navigation web part allows you to move through different views of the data. It can be customized. It's completely security trimmed so that certain users may see only certain things. And of course, all the labels can be customized depending on how your organization wants to implement. On the right, in the work area, we've got two instances of our data editor web part. The data editor web part is a big piece to the BPA solutions in that it allows you to access lists with lots and lots of data, more data than you would normally have in a standard SharePoint list, but it also reduces a lot of the performance issues you have with managing items in, let's say, 30,000 items in a list or 50,000 items in a list or more. And we do that through special technology that allows our solutions to grow with your organization. We've got a couple tab views here that shows all of my upcoming tasks that are assigned to me. I'm logged in as Trial 2013. I can see all of my upcoming events or meetings. I've got a sprinkler process review, and I can see all of the actions that I'm involved with. Each of these are just standard SharePoint views, so that if you wanted to customize a view to say maybe all of my upcoming tasks that are due this week, you could simply create more views of that. When a view returns data from a list, you can choose how much data you want to show on each page, 5, 10, 20, or what have you. And then, of course, we've got, it's in French, a filtered view that allows you to search through that column and say, I want to see all tasks related to sprinklers and what contains Sprinkler. Oh, spelled wrong. Sprinkler. How about that? I wonder that didn't come up. There you go. Well, I don't know why that's like that, but okay. So the filter views allow you to quickly bring back data within any of these lists. Okay. So now that we know what we're looking at, of course, all of the search works basically the same way through SharePoint as well as our filtered views. You can do a global search across your SharePoint site. It can integrate with FAS. All of the documents that are uploaded into the risk management system are crawled and will be indexed as well. So the way the system works is we first need to identify our risks. So we're going to go into the risk section here. And we break down risks into considered risks and all risks. So within an organization, you may have 300 or 400 risks, but at any given time, you may be working on 30 or 40 of those. And you can simply label those as considered risks. That way you get a better view of what's going on within your organization today. What we've also done is organize these risks by work unit. So if we bring these back, we can see that we've got risks that are related to our back office workers, our front office workers, and our manufacturing workers. If we drill down into the manufacturing workers, we've got a risk source, which is chemical risks. You could see lots of different risk sources in there if you have that configured. And then under chemical risks, we've got a chemical burn and eye damage as two of the risks that we're managing under our considered risks. The work units are defined within this tab. And what this allows you to do is set up work units that are associated with your organization. And then out of the box, from a risk source, we configure all of these risk sources for you, but of course these are just items within a list that can be edited, added, or deleted. So these are a lot of the standard risk sources that we see, and there's our chemical risk that we have here. So between the risks, work units, and risk sources, we can get a pretty good view of what are the risks within our organization, and then further qualify those into considered risks or not. So let's go back to our risk view and take a look at this eye damage risk. By clicking on the item, we actually drill down into this risk list, which gives us all of the details related to this item. This risk overview and risk details are really just columns within a list, so that if you had additional items that you wanted to track related to a risk, you simply would have to edit the underlying list that this information is tied to. Now the real power of where BPA comes in is it takes a flat list-based system, which is SharePoint, and turns it into a relational database. So for this specific risk, we can see all of the incidents, controls, compliance documents, actions, tasks, calendar events, and any attachments related to this specific risk. And this gives you a full 360-degree view of what is happening related to this risk. And that is going to be a common theme that we talk about throughout this webinar in terms of making these many-to-many relationships. So if we look at the risk of eye damage, we can take a look that there was at least one incident that was related to this, which was a minor chemical splash. We'll come back to that. From a controls standpoint, which are physical things that help reduce the impact or probability of a risk happening, we see we've got eye wash stations and we've got eye wash training that's going on. From compliance documents, we've got an official eye washing guideline. That's a PDF document. Actions that are in place to help mitigate this risk is that we are installing new eye wash stations on the new line. From a task standpoint, there's nothing going on currently, no calendar events, and no attachments. So each of these actions, compliance documents, controls, and incidents are managed over here between incidents, actions, risk reviews, controls, and the like. So each of those have their own life, their own project, and potentially a group of people that are working on them. So let's take a look at these new eyewash stations that are going in. By clicking on that, we actually then go to the controls list, and we see the details related to this existing control. So we see installation of eyewash stations on the line. It's related to the risk eye damage. It's active. We've got a key identification number. It's assigned to myself, and here's the title. Within this control, we can see there's an action of installing this. There's no tasks, no calendars, and no attachments. So let's go ahead and assign a new task to these eyewash stations. And what we want to do is set a task to review status of project. I'm going to go ahead and assign it to myself. I need to review progress, project manager. We're going to call this a to-do, and I'm going to set a date to do this on Friday. Now down below, what we can do is then relate this item to any risks, actions, audits, risk reviews, and controls. So in this case, the risk we're looking at, we can see we've got sort of a type ahead way to search for the risk we're currently looking for. So I can just simply type in I, and I does a search across all the columns within my risk list of anything that has I. So we've got the eye damage. For the action, we're going to look at, I think I'm getting confused here. I think, yeah, for eyewash stations. Yep. And the control is new eyewash stations that are going in. So now what we've done is we've created a new task that has a many-to-many relationship with the items that we just specified. Let's go over here to task, and we can see there is this. Now what's nice is when I come back to my home screen and I look at my upcoming tasks, I can see that I've got to call a sprinkler vendor that's due on the 28th. I've got a vendor matrix review for sprinkler vendors, and I can review the status of this project, which is related to the eye damage. On my current events, I can see here that I've got a sprinkler process review on 2/28. What the Outlook connector does is it takes all of your tasks and events and synchronizes it with your calendar. So if I look at my Outlook calendar here, I can see on the 31st, there is my review, fire instruction procedure. Down here is my sprinkler process review. I've got a quality meeting here from my quality system. I've got an audit that's happening over this time. So that within my Outlook and then within my tasks section, these items are transferred so that I don't have to always be within the SharePoint site to take care of what we've got going on here. So we've taken a look at risks. We've taken a look at our risk solutions. We do have a nice shared calendar that allows you to look at your full team's calendar. You can roll together many, many lists into a single calendar so that we can see in here is a calendar of our events, actions, and tasks color-coded. Those are different lists. You can pull in any list that you want from your SharePoint site and bring it into a shared calendar. When you click on an item, it does give you a nice pop of what's going on there, and then of course you can go ahead and open up that event as well. So the calendaring function is nice. On the tasks, we roll together your tasks, all tasks, any view that you want to look at, and then we do support the timeline function so that if you wanted to add, let's say, this new task that I just added to the timeline, you should be able to just add it to the timeline. My little timeline feature seems to be gone within here. Oh well. So you can see up here I've added need to compare quotes for sprinklers, need to compare quotes for sprinklers. Usually there's a button right here that says add to timeline or remove from timeline. I don't know why that's not there anymore. Okay. By the way, I am on the Discovery 2013 site. This is our shared demo site that you all can have access to do exactly the same things I'm doing and to see the data that I'm playing with and the like. And you can take a 30-day trial on this. You can begin, doing some configurations. You can even go in and start looking at the web parts within this page to see how those configurations are made. And that's why sometimes during these demos, things that I expect to be there are not, or the language changes in the drop-downs because somebody in France is probably changing their settings to a different region. Anyway, I'm not going to go through and change that. Okay, so that's our tasks and the like. So let's go ahead and take a look at incidents. So incidences happen when something goes on, and as an incident can be related to a risk, we can begin then looking at the costs of a risk so that we know how much we need to invest based on what's actually happening. So again, an incident just drives into an incident risk list, and we can see we've got a fire injury, we've got sparks, we've got lost data, and we've got this minor chemical splash. So if we go into this minor chemical splash, we can take a look at the incident. And on this, we can see that the initial cost was about $2,500. It happened 6 days ago. Some descriptions, and then this was related to eye damage, chemical risks, and the manufacturing workers. And then what that does is it creates sort of all of the things that allow us to view this within other views. What I do want to note down below is you can see that all we have here in another view is our attachments. This is configurable based on the data viewer web part. And you can see by simply turning on attachments as something that you want to have within the incident, it automatically puts the Add Attachments button here. But if you also wanted to add tasks, events, phone calls, those would show up just like we saw before as additional tabs, and then the action buttons would be related to that as well. So that's part of the configuration that you can do or that we can do for you, which is to set up those action buttons that you want to have at each level. It's, again, all configuration at the page level, and after a couple days of training, your SharePoint team should be able to do that for you. So moving through this, you can see it's a little bit more of the same. On the risk review, these are internal reviews that you may set up as a recurring event that allow you to meet with people to see how we're doing in managing a risk. Now what's interesting is with our reviews, you have the ability to aggregate tasks that are happening related to this risk review. We can look at our calendar events, and we can look at any attachments that need to be there. So we can see all of our tasks that may be related to different risks or related to different incidences, but have been related also to this risk review, can be pulled together. And with our mail merge capabilities, you can actually create a risk review Word document that pulls all of the tasks, calls, activities related to this risk review into a nice report that can be used during the meeting. Let's move on to reporting. So this is always a big piece, and the KPI section is really key for any sort of risk management. And this is where we get into the control aspect that we talked about in the PowerPoint related to the matrices. So in this case, what we've got are those same risks, but we've developed a series of KPIs that are on a periodic basis. In this case, we have chosen monthly. So in this case, let's say our back office workers on the currency exchange rate risk, in November, the risk was essentially rated at 9, 9, 3, and 3. So we can see that we are trending towards green and we are improving in our results. Now, the way this works is we simply have various matrices that are either 3 by 3, 3 by 4, I think there's a 9 by something, and essentially when you take the impact times the probability of something happening in a given month, the outcome of that can be put against these numbers, which are something that you create, right, depending on what's going on. And we can see that if the number is 3 or below, we're okay. If it's 9 or 10, we're in this orange area. And if it's 30 or more, we're in the red, right? So essentially, we can see our period types and our trends. And what happens is, let's say we are looking at January, and we've got this risk of fire of explosion within January, and we want to add a new period. We're given here an impact and probability of that risk happening in that given month. Let's say we're going through a pretty big construction during that month, and therefore the chances of fire may be increased versus when we're at a steady state. So we're going to set our impact to low because we do have a lot of controls in place, such as maybe additional fire extinguishers, a sprinkler system is already installed. We're in the final phases, so if there is a fire, the impact of it hurting anything is going to be low. But our probability is actually high because of what's going on. And we'll go ahead and save that. And note, right now, it did not update my trend because that's going to run on a periodic basis for performance, but I can manually run it by simply saying generate periods and update trends. So let me go ahead and do that. And we can see what it does is it'll do the calculation of probability and impact, and it puts us in the orange state for the month of January and the like. Now, as we move to February, let's say the construction is finished and that our impact is low and our probability is low for fire within this risk source. And we'll go ahead and update that trend. And we can see that generates a value that is green, and our trend is moving up. So very powerful, something that you'll spend a lot of time on in your risk management and the like. And again, if at any point you are interested in this risk and you want to see all of the controls, if there were any incidents related to it, or accumulate all of those actions, tasks, and activities within a risk review, that's where the beauty of this many-to-many relationship happens. Of course, we've got just a boatload of charts that allow you to look at the data in real time and look at your incidents by services, incidents by month, incidents by work unit. We can do graphs, spider diagrams. There's about 15 or 16 of these that allow you to look at your data the way you want to. In addition to our risk assessment KPIs, our charts, we do a series of dashboarding, and you can build through our report builder a series of reports that can either be published or be private. So we can see private ones are maybe my completed tasks, my upcoming tasks, but public ones may be considered risks, it may be controls, it may be audit reports, and the like. And what's nice is when you do run these, the output of them is again, a filtered view within a data viewer web part, but this can be exported to an Excel spreadsheet with all of these filters intact, so that once you get it into a spreadsheet, you can say, I just want to see all of my completed tasks related to fire versus eye damage and the like. So you do preserve all of that as it moves into Excel and the like. Also within the system, we've incorporated a complete document management solution so that you can create, manage, and publish key documents within your risk solution. And we saw a bit of that with the eyewash. So if we look at our documents, we've got a fire procedure, we've got a personal evaluation instruction, and we can see our official eyewashing guidelines. So let's go take a look at this document. And what's interesting is we preserve all of the versioning that SharePoint provides out of the box. You have the ability to check in, check out. You have the ability to have read-only, all of its security trimmed, so that if you do publish new versions of the document, the previous versions will be accessible. You can also restore previous versions if you have privileges. And what that does is really add a lot of document management capabilities and get off that J drive where lots of bad things can happen to documents. Now what's nice is this document, we've labeled a lot of metadata associated with a title, identification, the type of document. You can have a hierarchy of documents in terms of parent documents and child documents. But we also related this to the risk of eye damage and the risk source electrical installation risks. We published it 5 days ago and the like. I don't think there's any tasks or events related to that. But what this does by making these relationships is when we looked at the risk of eye damage and we looked at our compliance documents, we see that that eye washing guideline is there. So that by simply updating within the document management component this to a new version, instantly those that simply have the view of a risk will have the new version here. And of course, all of the standard SharePoint version history, which we can take a look at. We can see that it was published on 2/25, the metadata was changed, we can see who changed it, trial 2013, and the like. We can also take a look at the ability to download a copy, look at you can check it out, you can edit the properties of it, and of course all of this is security trim based on user groups and security and the like. So that's a basic tour of the solution and the like. So what we're going to do is open it up to some questions that I've seen that have come in and see if we can answer some of these. Okay. So what you're seeing here, a question about SharePoint versions. We run on both Foundation and Enterprise SharePoint. So so you don't have to have Enterprise for all of the functionality that you see here. The solution does work on both SharePoint 2010 and SharePoint 2013. So you can migrate between the two if you're still on 2010 and moving to 2013 later. The solution is deployed right through central admin and simply activated on a site collection, and all of the lists and configurations are pretty much out of the box what you see. The configurations itself are very simple right through standard web part editing. So these are not individual web parts. That's another question. This is actually a single platform that's installed, even though there's some 30 web parts, such as the BPA reminder tool, the navigation web part, the forms web part, the data viewer web part, the data editor web part, the KPIs, all the web parts for the charts. You don't have to manage 30 separate little installs. It is a single install, a single platform. And we come out with new versions about 3 or 4 times a year, and you simply upgrade your install once, and everything is up on the latest version and build. And you can see, you can usually see the build down here, but I don't see it right now. Pricing. So we have 2 pricing models, which is pretty interesting. So for larger complex farms, you can actually buy the system at a user level. So if you've got a large farm with 4,000 or 5,000 people on it, but you only need 25 people on the risk solution, you can buy a 25 user solution and deploy it on your farm. If you wanted unlimited users and you wanted a farm deployment, we do have server-based licensing, which is unlimited users, and that can be deployed as well. So you can choose which pricing fits what you need as well. If you want access to this 30-day trial, you can email me, or you'll be getting a follow-up email from us, and you can just simply respond to that as well. As far as standard training is typically a 3-day training of the major web parts and configurations, and pretty much after that you are off and running. In terms of Office 365, we are knee-deep in that. Our actual, the CRM solution is the first to be deployed on Office 365. We are going to be at the SharePoint conference in Las Vegas starting on Sunday, and the SharePoint Lite is currently available in the App Store. It is a free CRM solution for Office 365. There has been some major challenges in terms of deploying solutions on Office 365 that we have overcome, and Risk will be something that is coming shortly. We do have a cloud version of Risk so that we can tie your Office 365 site to our cloud version so that you can simply use it in the cloud, but it will be on our managed site. So right now, you can't deploy it through the App Store, but we hope to be there soon. We can do the configuration for you. We've got both partners that can do the services, or if it's just basic, like a 4 or 5 day project, BPA can do that directly with your SharePoint team, get you started, sort of do a side-by-side training and basic configuration on your solution and get you off and running a little bit quicker. So we can do that pretty easily as well. The mobile solution is an optional component. It has a separate price, which is $5 per user per month. All of the solutions can be accessed through any mobile browser directly, but the mobile app, which is a separate experience that provides both online and offline capabilities, is a separate charge. The Microsoft Outlook connector is included with the Professional and Enterprise editions and is not an extra charge. And I think I've gone through most of the questions. So you will receive a follow-up email. I want to thank you all for the time and allowing us to show you our solution. And we would welcome a one-on-one demo, understanding what you're doing currently for your risk management, and help you evaluate this tool to see if it's right for your organization. If you're coming out to SharePoint, the SPC 2014, I would love to meet you. I'll be out there along with a bunch of people from Switzerland. And I don't know our booth number, but we'll include that in the follow-up email. But look for us. We've got a big booth. We've got a lot of sponsorships going on. We're giving away 2 Surface RTs, one each day, I think on Monday and Tuesday. So come by and enter that drawing, say hello, and let's find some time to talk while in Vegas. All right. Thank you all, and we'll see you soon.